There is no other experience like sports. Playing them with a team, working together to become the best, or working on your own to be your best in single-person sports, it's a magical feeling. The same goes for watching sports. Choosing a team and or player to root for, and celebrate the victories, and be disappointed with losses. There's no other experience in the world like it. However, not everybody likes watching or playing sports. There's some people who would rather get stuck in World Series traffic while trying to get to an anime convention. I mean, me personally, I'm going to the World Series, but hey, whatever boat your float, I guess. But what if there was a way for strictly video game fans to experience sports without the realistic simulation games like 2K The Show and Madden? Because those don't really appeal to people who don't like sports. What about the people who are Nintendo fans and don't know who the Seattle Mariners are? Well, joke's on those people, because the Seattle Mariners used to be owned by Nintendo, so if you don't know about them, you're not a real Nintendo fan. But for those people, there's the Mario sports games. They ease players who don't like sports into sports with fun, wacky mechanics, as well as sports fans who want a twist on the real-life sports. I'm going to be ranking every Mario sports game and seeing which ones are great at appealing to both demographics and which ones, well, don't do that. I want to point out that I consider the Mario and Sonic Olympic games to be separate series, since those are minigame collections rather than focusing on one or a few sports, so they won't be included in this list. I'll make a list on them eventually, but don't ask me when, because I don't know when. Also, the NES golf games may have Mario in them, but they're not really Mario sports games. They're just generic sports games with Mario in them, so they won't count either. Also, this is just my list, and you are in fact allowed to have a different one. So be sure to let me know how you would rank the Mario sports games. With that out of the way, let's touchdown, three-pointer, home run, hole-in-one, goal, and whatever other terms you want to use and get to the list already.
You suck, you jackass!
What do you want me to say? Remember how I said the Mario sports games bring a fun and unique twist that makes it stand out from the real sport? Not Mario's tennis for the virtual boy. This is literally just tennis, and I didn't even want to count it for this list. But I guess it is a Mario sports game because Mario is in the title. He owns tennis, I guess, and has a bunch of Mario characters. There's literally nothing to say about it other than it being entirely red and black like every other Virtual Boy game. Not only is this game an absolute bore, but my eyes hurt looking at it for too long. Don't play this one. Don't even think about it. It's worthless.
And a Mega Battle.
Mario Tennis Ultra Smash for the Wii U is essentially Mario's Tennis, but in HD, and it has colors. Oh, and it has Mega Battle. The gameplay for this one is just mindless. Instead of being a game about outsmarting your opponent with different types of shots and trying to do that while also trying to balance it with protecting your side of the court, it's just a game of running to the glowy spot and doing the move the game tells you to do. Not only does the game tell you exactly where to stand in order to get a good hit, but the type of shot it tells you to do will be more powerful. So again, it's just mindless. And no, the singular power-up that randomly gets thrown on the court doesn't help anything. The Mega Mushroom is almost an instant win button for whoever gets it. And there's not even a bar to fill up or something you and your opponent have to fight for. The Toads just give it to whoever they feel like, whenever they feel like. Yes, it does alternate sides, but that doesn't stop it from barely changing anything besides giving an unfair advantage to one player. And Mega Battle is essentially the only mode in this game. You can play normal tennis without the glowy spots and Mega Mushrooms, but that is literally just HD Mario's Tennis. You can play Rally with an opponent, and you can do single player Mega Battle. That's it. No minigames or even alternate courts besides changing the ground in the generic stadium. Not only does this game have next to no content, but the gameplay itself is mindless, repetitive, and boring. It sucks.
Oh, please. I have no soul.
Mario Sports Superstars for the 3DS is a 5-in-1 compilation. Don't get your hopes up, it sucks. This package includes baseball, tennis, golf, soccer, and horseback racing. Okay. Usually when you get compilations of games, there is usually going to be one or a few in the package that aren't that good. Mario Sports Superstars is a rare case where all 5 included suck. Tennis and golf are stripped down demos of the main games without any interesting courses or gameplay. Soccer is super boring, being a straight conversion of the real life soccer. Again, with no interesting fields or moves. Baseball's ass. And horseback racing is horseback racing. None of these sports invoke any joy in me. The only semi-okay one is golf. But why would you play it here instead of any of the other standalone golf games? It's also a huge slap in the face that the only unlockable characters are Metal Mario and Pinko Beach. I mean, I'm not even sure how you could play these sports for more than 5 seconds, let alone unlock characters, but whatever. I'm placing this game above Ultra Smash, because at least there's more to do in this one, as well as golf being kind of okay. This game, just like the previous two I've talked about, is not worth playing at all. You won't even miss anything that you can't get an infinitely better version of if you don't play this game. The only experience that you'll miss is horseback racing, but why do you want to play horseback racing in Mario Sports Superstars? I don't know. And if you do, how do you exist?
Don't understand. It was just tennis.
Oh my god.
Mario Tennis Open for the 3DS is pretty much just a slightly better version of Ultra Smash. That's basically it. This game introduced the glowy spots that will increase your power and tell you to do a certain shot. Just like with Ultra Smash, I still don't like this, as it makes the gameplay mindless and repetitive. At least this game has a bunch of fun minigames, especially the Super Mario Bros. One. I really like how they essentially turned Super Mario Bros. Levels into a tennis match somehow, and it's really fun. The other minigames are worth playing as well. Overall, I just don't like this main tennis mode and the glowy spots. I swear I actually like Mario Tennis, it's just that all the games I've mentioned so far have not been good. I really wanted to give this game a chance. I wanted to put it higher and say that it gets way too much hate, but I just felt that Mario Golf Super Rush for the Switch was lacking compared to many of the other sports games. First off, the main normal golf mode is pretty good. The courses are fun, especially the New Dog City one, and it retains a lot of the good aspects of the other golf games. However, they made an already simple game even simpler. For one, the only timing you have to do is for the power. There's no secondary A-press to have a good shot. Second, there's almost no penalty for hitting the ball as hard as you can every time. In real-life golf, and even the previous Mario Golf games, you can't do that, or else your shot will veer off to the side, especially if you hit it from the rough or a sand trap. That is not the case in this game, which means the only things to account for in your shots are the hazards and the wind. That's it. Hell, even Wii Sports gets this right. I also really like the Battle Golf mode. It's a fun, frantic fight to capture the flags before your opponents. There's only one stage, so there's not much to keep me coming back, but it's still really fun. But then there's Super Rush mode. I hate it. Super Rush mode is basically just regular golf, but you have to run to your ball after you hit it. This had so much potential. It could have been like a Mario Kart type thing where there's items all over and you have to knock out your opponents to get to your ball quicker, and it could have been really fun. When I saw trailers for this game, I was so excited because it looked like that's exactly what this mode was going to be. But there's no items. The only way to knock down your opponents is with special shots, and even then, those aren't going to hit unless you're way behind everyone else. The special shots can also knock away your ball, which is more irritating than fun or strategic. You also have special dashes, but they just shoot you forward. And yes, I know those can knock other players over, but I've rarely seen that happen. There are also so many courses that are so simple that they are really boring to run across, or they are so confusing in where you have to run to get to your ball. So what could have been a really fun shakeup on the golf formula became a slog. Doesn't help that when you finish a hole first, you have to wait for everyone else to finish. Ironically, the mode called Super Rush is way slower than the normal game. Finally, there's the story mode. It's fine. It has some of the aspects that made previous story modes really fun, but for the most part, it's just boring. Oh, and you also have to play some more Super Rush, which sucks. Overall, this game has so much holding it back from topping all the previous golf games, but it has some fun to be had with normal golf and battle mode. Everything else just doesn't work.
And stop your bitching!
I'm in a similar stance to Mario Strikers Battle League as I was with Mario Golf Super Rush. I really wanted to like this game and prove all the haters wrong, but I just couldn't do it. Mostly. I will say that a lot of hate that this game gets is unjustified. Like, it's not great, but it's nowhere near one of the worst Nintendo games. Not even by a long shot. People are trying to act like launching with barely any content made it one of the worst Nintendo games, but the gameplay was so much fun, and that should be the most important aspect of a video game, but whatever. Also, last time I checked, today isn't launch day, so I think we're good. The gameplay is really fun. It's a Strikers game, I think that's required. It's really fun to use items and tackles to try to get the ball, while also being able to dodge with the ball and line up a good shot on the goal. It's really fun. That's where my positives end. First of all, just like with Super Rush, some of the complexity from the previous games was taken out, like the slide tackle, character-specific moves, and the glowy ball thing that gets more powerful the more it's passed around. Second of all, the character selection. It's not bad, but it is so much smaller than all the other sports games, even after the free updates. It doesn't help that in every game, assuming there's no repeat characters used, over half of the characters have to be in one game. That gets super repetitive after a while, and even in the first Strikers games, which has the same number of characters as this one, 14, in that one, your team is composed of one captain character and 3 sidekicks. Sure, the sidekicks repeat a bunch, but there's so much variety with the captains that it doesn't matter. In Battle League, while it's cool that multiple captains can be in the same team, the size of the roster just doesn't work. I seriously can't believe that the roster was even smaller at one point. Third, well, that's it. You can't do anything else in this game other than play normal matches. Sure, there's the whole Strikers Club and gear and stuff, but those just lead into regular matches. And even though this was the case with the other Strikers games, those ones actually had unique characters and moves that change up every match, therefore making you want to actually play the regular matches more. Even though I spent a good chunk of time complaining about this game, I still think that the gameplay is fun enough to balance out with the lack of content. It's a perfectly fine game if you don't have the other 2 Strikers games.
Hey, it is about time. I mean, I just couldn't get the ball in the hole. I wanted to, but I just couldn't do it.
Mario Golf for the N64 is in a really weird spot for me. I really like it. I would consider it to be the first game on this list that I would call great. It's just outclassed by all the other games after it. It is so funny to me that the first Mario Golf game has more content than Ultra Smash. The character roster is also weird. Like, you boot up the game for the first time expecting to see the normal Mario cast, but instead, when you get there, you see, Plum? Who the fuck is Plum? And where's Mario? I commend them for having original characters in this game, but it's just odd that you don't start out with any traditional Mario characters other than Peach and Baby Mario. Baby Mario, not regular Mario. Onto the game itself. I mean, it's golf. What did you expect? The overall gameplay is better than Super Rush because the way you hit the ball actually matters here, and in the following games. Although sometimes it looks like the ball doesn't land in the right spot. Tell me honestly, did this ball land in the right spot? The side modes are also lots of fun, and many of which appear in later games. The only reason I'm ranking this lower than the other golf games besides Super Rush is just because the other ones improve on this one. The gameplay is still plenty of fun to play, but all the other golf games just refine what this game has, so there's not really a good reason to go back to this one. There is one exception, however, the mini golf mode. This mode is so much fun, I'd argue even more than normal golf, and it saddens me that it's only in this game. I don't need these unique characters back. I mean, that would be pretty cool, but all I need is my mini golf. Where's my mini golf, Nintendo? I need it! Mario Tennis for the N64 is the greatest game of all time because of one simple reason. It's the introduction of Waluigi. So why is it ranked 15? Well, similarly to Mario Golf, it's still a great fun game that started off the tennis series. Mario's Tennis on the Virtual Boy. The games higher on this list are just better than this one. I know it seems like I've hated tennis thus far, but that's only because those few games are actually bad. I actually prefer tennis to golf, which you probably already figured out based on where I rank this. The reason I prefer tennis is because of the way you need to be able to outsmart your opponent. Where in golf, the way you beat your opponent is just by being better. There's really no connection between the players other than the score at the end. In tennis, you have to read your opponent and figure out what kind of shot they won't be able to get, unlike the bad tennis games where they just tell you what to do. You also have to balance that out with getting shots that are hit to you. I love the kind of strategy where you need to think about what your opponent is weak against while also trying to prevent them from figuring out your weakness. In the N64 game, all of that is here, but it is done a little better in the later games. There are also plenty of modes to keep coming back, like the ring shot or the Bowser Castle thing with items. Those are pretty fun. Mario Sports Mix on the Wii is thankfully nowhere near as bad as Mario Sports Superstars. It's also not the greatest game. I mentioned before that having multiple products in one is usually bound to have one or some not as good as the others. In Mario Sports Superstars, none of the sports were good. Here, basketball and hockey are really fun. I love the gameplay and how different stadiums can affect how the game is played. Shooting feels nice in both of them, and scoring is super satisfying. Defense is really fun as well, being able to use your items to steal the ball or puck. I also like how the puck in hockey is a coin. That's really cool. Volleyball is just okay. It's dumb how you have to hit the ball 3 times before you can hit it over the net to the opponent's side. It would have been more fun and interesting to be able to mix it up to throw off the opponents. Also, you just shake the Wii remote to do literally everything. And I have had a couple of times where it didn't work properly, but that didn't happen too often, thankfully. Finally, there's dodgeball. It sucks. I have no idea why they made it so there's only one ball in the court at a time. That makes it so boring it takes forever because in order to do damage, you need the ball, and you have to wait for it to get to you. It's essentially like rock, paper, scissors in a way, because with the ball you can throw it, fake a throw, or pass it. On defense you can dodge or catch the ball, but catching it doesn't do anything for some reason, except if you get hit and catch it before it hits the ground, then you don't lose any health. It's just dull. There are also minigames corresponding to each sport. The fruit one sucks, the rhythm one is fine, the bomb dodging is pretty fun, and the hockey fight is alright, I guess. Also, since this game was developed by Square Enix, you get to play as Final Fantasy characters as well. That's amazing. Have you ever wanted to see a cactus dude play basketball with Mario characters? Well, now you can. Back in 2011, when this game came out.
You're not an RPG guy!
Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color is a really fun twist on the sports games we've seen so far. Instead of being a multiplayer-focused party game with lots of way to play with friends, it's an RPG adventure where you create a character and try to be the best golfer there is. The game invests me into this world of unique characters and simple gameplay. The gameplay itself is on par with the N64 one, but it's obviously not 3D. But it doesn't take away from the game at all. It's still clear where you need to hit the ball. The fact that the world is more fleshed out puts this above the N64 one for me. I still do prefer the multiplayer GameCube and Wii games, but this is still an excellent game that you should check out if you haven't.
Number 2, wait your turn, f***er.
Literally just copy and paste what I said about the Golf Game Boy Color, and you have my thoughts on Mario Tennis Game Boy Color. I also still prefer tennis to golf because of the reasons I gave earlier. There isn't one story or world that I prefer over the other. They are both on par with each other in my mind. Although I do like how you could team up with a partner in this game compared to the golf one. That makes me more invested in these characters and makes me believe that they are good friends. Also, Kate is a god at returning the ball. Look at her go.
I wanna be the very best.
A golfer, guy, person. Okay, this may be a hot take, but I actually only slightly prefer the Game Boy Advance games to the Game Boy Color ones. Mario Golf Advance Tour to me is just a slightly better Mario Golf Game Boy Color. I don't really see too much of a difference other than the graphics and the characters and worlds are a bit different. Other than that, I don't really see this as being one of the top Mario Sports games. It does what it does very well, but I see more in some of the multiplayer focused games.
I wanna be the very best.
Tennis player guy. Again, just copy and paste what I said about Mario Golf Advance Tour, and you get my thoughts on Mario Tennis Power Tour. Also add for the 9,000th time that I prefer tennis to golf. The only thing I have left to add is that my character was Noyet, or in the case of the GBA games, Noit, because that's all I could fit. That's it. I don't have anything else to say about these.
Golf requires goofy pants and a fat ass.
We finally reached our first GameCube game with Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. This may just seem like a better N64 golf game, without mini golf. And to some extent, yeah, it is. We're also back to a traditional character roster. That's right, no more Plum. Rest in peace, you will be missed. Except not really. Where was I? Oh right, the actual game. This game makes minor improvements that make all the difference compared to the N64 one. First off, the gauge at the bottom. You can use the triggers to move a cursor so you can accurately tell how hard you have to hit the ball. Where in the N64 game, you just had to guess where you needed to time the swing in order to hit the ball to the correct spot. And it felt inconsistent at times. But that could just be me being stupid. That's a high possibility. But in Toadstool Tour, I have no doubts where I need to time the A press because of the cursor thing. Instead of being a guessing game, I can just instead focus on the shot itself. There are also plenty of modes to play in this game, except minigolf. Like the returning ring shot, and this new coin minigame, which is pretty much the same thing as the ring one, but is still fun. There's also a co-op mode, which is just golf, but there are teams of 2 working together and alternating shots to get the best score. That's pretty fun. Another mode where you have one shot to get as close to the hole as possible. That's really fun if you don't want to focus on putting. My favorite one somehow was the club slots one, where you roll a slot machine to decide what 3 clubs you get to use for the hole. This made the game super unique and made you think outside of the box to use the clubs you're giving to their fullest potential. I also want to talk about how this game has so much charm. Everybody always talks about how good the GameCube Mario sports games are, and there's a good reason for that. Even the weakest one is oozing with creativity and personality. The animations give all the characters life, and I can't get enough of that opening cutscene. Everybody shows off their character so well, and you get a fun look at what's to come. I especially love the part where Waluigi sucks at putting. No wonder he wasn't in the N64 one. You're looking like me in real life.
World Tour!
Strangely enough, my favorite Mario Golf game ended up being World Tour on the 3DS. I did not have high hopes for this after playing Mario Tennis Open for the same console, but this game proved me wrong. The gameplay here is just as good as the previous games. There's not too much that differentiates this one from Toadstool Tour for me. We also have to talk about the courses. These are easily the best courses out of the entire Mario Golf series. The base game had an excellent selection of generic golf courses and unique golf courses that really enhanced the game. Not only that, but there was paid DLC that added even more courses that made the game even more unique than it already was. Are you taking notes, Switch Mario sports games? This is how you make a game's content fleshed out. There's also a story mode that's kind of similar to Super Rushes, but here, you don't have to do crappy run to the ball thing, so it's way better. It's definitely not as good as the story mode as the Game Boy games, but it's still solid and adds to an already content-packed game. Do you want to know why everyone points at the Switch sports games and says they barely have any content? This game is the exact reason. Where it is so content-packed, even without the DLC, and gives the full experience. Speaking of Switch sports games, Mario Tennis Aces is easily the best Switch game because it actually, get this, improves the tennis gameplay in ways that aren't stupid, and gives you a reason to want to play it instead of the older games. Crazy, I know. This game improves on the gameplay by adding the ability to break your tennis racket. Oh, and it also gives you a ton of new moves to try out and outsmart your opponent while also trying to defend your court at the same time. You have this meter thing that fills up with the good rallying, and you can use it to slow down time and to get a ball that you may not be able to get otherwise. Or you can use it to unleash a special shot, which the other player can counter by blocking it at the right time. And they can also use their slow mode to get it as well. I love this. Each match is intense, and you need to wear out your opponent before they wear you out. It honestly feels like fighting it with all the special encounters that can be pulled off. There's also a story mode that's pretty good. It's not amazing or anything, but it's a fun time. Even though this is the game that started the whole free update thing, the game itself shakes up the formula so much that it really doesn't matter. And again, today is launch day, so it extra doesn't matter.
And the Oscar goes to...
Mario Power Tennis on the GameCube is my favorite Mario Tennis game. While the gameplay may not have the sheer complexity and variety that Aces has, this game more than makes up for it with the sheer amount of content it has. Mario Tennis Aces needed free updates after the game launched, and it still couldn't compete with the amount of content this GameCube game had since launch. There are also plenty of minigames here, and it's kind of absurd that this is only the second tennis game, excluding that. This one where you paint a picture by hitting the paintballs is really addicting, and it helps you in shaping your shots in the normal game. The tic-tac-toe one is also very addicting. This change-up one, I'm not very good at all, but it's still a blast. There's also this one where you need to hit the ghost before they come onto the court and mess you up, and it's also really fun. And just like with Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, the charm of this game shoots through the roof. The trophy cutscenes are really fun to watch, as well as the opening cutscene being Oscar-worthy.
Hi, I'm Oscar. You might think you know, but you have no idea.
No, not that Oscar.
I heard you girls were playing some b-ball.
Mario Hoops 3-on-3 for the DS. Okay, before we talk about the game itself, can we just talk about how odd of a release this is? Square Enix and Nintendo decided to collaborate, and when they were coming up with ideas for what they should do, one of them suggests that they follow up to a beloved game, Super Mario RPG. I'm super excited for the remake, by the way. And then gets thrown out the window, and someone else pipes in and says, "Hey, I got it. How about we make a basketball game for the DS?"
Fucking genius!
This is totally based on a real story. I definitely didn't make it up at all. Anyways, this game slaps. While you may be mad that it's controlled with the touchscreen for pretty much everything, that doesn't stop how layered and complex this gameplay is. Honestly, I thought the touchscreen controls were pretty fun, but if you don't like them, you can also use button controls, although you can't do all of the moves if you do that. Speaking of which, this game has so many moves to pull off in order to get the ball away from your opponents, or to get the ball into your hoop. On offense, you tap the dribble on question mark spots to get the coins, which adds to your score when you make a basket. 2s are worth 20 points, 3s are worth 30 points, and special shots are worth 40 points. Every coin you have on at the time is added to that. Despite not even being close to real basketball, I love the scoring system. It makes you contemplate how many coins you want to get before attempting to score. If you wait too long to score, that gives the opponent ample time to steal the ball, so you may consider scoring earlier if the lane opens up. I also love how the specials work. Each character has a combination that you need to dribble twice in order to pull it off. It takes a bit to pull it off, so you need to be wide open to pull it off and get yourself the most possible points. You can also dribble and move immediately after to do a sort of dodge to avoid opponents. On defense, there are many ways to get the ball. It's kind of crazy. First, you can just swipe down to attempt to steal. Second, you can swipe up then down to perform a ground pound to knock the ball out of the hands of the opponent. You can also use the shield thing by holding down on the screen to block the opponent from moving toward the hoop, and when it turns red, you can swipe down to do a powerful steal. Those question mark panels also double as items when you don't have the ball, which adds even more strategy to it. It's really fun to throw green shells, red shells, bananas, fake question mark panels, and blue shells. It's also really fun to try to avoid them. That's not even mentioning all the unique courts that this game has, as well as the Final Fantasy characters that you could use 5 years before Sports Mix. I feel this game is easily the most overshadowed out of any of them, so please play it is so much fun.
Super! Smash each other in the ass, brother!
Do you want to know why Mario Strikers Battle League gets so much hate? Because an infinitely better version of it came out 17 years prior. Super Mario Strikers for the GameCube took a look at the real-life soccer and said, how do we make this more fun? Well, by making it more violent, like way more violent. I'm still shocked that Nintendo allowed this. And also by giving the characters way more personality and being pissed off at each other. You know why Daisy is as popular as she is? It's because of this game. At least, I'm going to pretend like it's because of this game. They upped her attitude way up in this game. Same with all the other characters too. This game has so much personality, it's unreal. Oh yeah, and there's a really fun game mode under all the cutscenes as well. I really like how instead of being just a soccer game, they combine bits and pieces of soccer, hockey, and football into something that stands out hard from the real life sport. While all the other sports, despite obviously being different from the real life counterparts, are just Mario versions of the sport. Strikers takes the real life sports and makes something completely new out of it. This game controls so fluently as well, and everything feels great to pull off, like slide tackling, throwing huge items, dodging tackles from opponents, getting a good shot on the goal, and the super satisfying feeling of scoring a goal with a perfect shot. It all feels great. There are also these super strikes that only the captains can pull off. You fill up this bar and try to time it well. If the goal goes in, it's worth 2 points. For some reason. I also love how all the items themselves are giving out. They act like a penalty of sorts. When you hit someone on the other team who doesn't have the ball, their team will be awarded an item. You also get items for getting good shots on the goal. This is much more unique than throwing question marks on the field randomly, and it again makes strikers feel like a completely new sport in the Mushroom Kingdom. It's great. Every character is fun to play as, and they are unique from each other, making each match different from the last. Admittedly, there isn't a lot of content here, but this game is so endlessly replayable that it hardly matters. The character roster is also pitifully small for a GameCube Mario sports game, but we get these weird robot things, so that's cool I guess. Despite the lack of content, this game is so much fun that it outshines a lot of the other games on this list.
I think that's his first time ever with the Yif Daddy home run.
Mario Superstar Baseball for the GameCube. What a game. It may not be as flashy or intense as Super Mario Strikers, but this game is so great at converting baseball into a video game. I'd say it's the most realistic conversion of the real-life sport out of all the games on this list. The gameplay, well, it's baseball. One person pitches and the other bats. The batter tries to hit the ball and gets runners on base who need to get to home plate to score runs. The batting and pitching is really fun, and it's the perfect game for trying to outsmart your opponent with different pitches and pitchers. The gameplay is super fun, but what really makes this game is the team building. First off, this is one of the most insane character rosters out of all the sports games, and even Mario games in general. You got the Peon Tenzanokis from Sunshine, you got my boy P. Piranha, Most of the Kongs, Hammer Bros, Magic Koopas, Goombas, it's insane how good this roster is. Each character has different stats: pitching, batting power, fielding, and speed. And there are even some hidden stats like contact zone size while batting, and how fast they can throw the ball. On top of that, characters have their own unique specials like having a better dive, super jump in the field, or being able to run really fast while holding the ball for somehow. Each character provides different ways to play every game, where they can field and how good they can bat. I feel like even the worst characters in this game have a place on some teams. That's all good, but they added even more with the chemistry system. Certain characters have chemistry, such as Mario and Luigi, shown by these music notes. These chemistry characters will throw the ball to each other much faster in the field, and will provide extra power to the batter if someone with chemistry is on base. There's even negative chemistry that will cause the fielders to miss their throws, so you need to take that into account too. I love all this customization each match provides. Building a team to fit your playstyles is a super fun game in itself, and actually playing the game is really fun as well. That's not even taking into account the 6 different fields there are to play on, each with their own hazards and sizes, providing even more replayability. And that's just the main mode. The single player campaign is the challenge mode. You start by picking one of the 5 teams and try to beat the other teams and face off Bowser in a final match at the end. You explore this overworld thing and walk to each of the stadiums, and there are also NPCs who will let you play minigames, which we'll get to later, for coins that can be used to buy temporary buffs. Also, while playing a match, sometimes missions will pop up, and if you complete enough of them, you can have other players join a team and get the ability for more customization. I love this mode because of how it feels like an actual baseball season. Starting off with the team and making trades in order to beat all the other teams and become the best. Or if you want, you can just keep your team the whole way through and just play the 5 required matches. There's so much variety here. There's also the toy field, which is really fun for 4-player party mode. You select a number of turns and 1 character each, and the first batter is randomly decided. 1 player bats, 1 pitches, and the other 2 are in the outfield. The batter tries to hit the ball on these point panels while the fielders try to get the ball. Whoever gets the ball will bat next, and if no one gets the ball in a certain time, the batter will go again. It is a bit unfair to the pitcher though, as they have to run all the way from the mound to get the ball, but thankfully you don't have to pitch again unless the batter goes again. This mode is so much fun and frantic in the field and while batting. It's a fun distraction if you're tired of the main mode. There's also the mini games. They're okay. The only one that I had a lot of fun with was the home run derby, but other than that one, they're fine. This game has so much content to keep players coming back for more. The team building is amazing, the gameplay is amazing, Toy Field and Challenge are super fun, it's a great jam-packed game.
It seems today that all you see is violence.
Remember what I said about the first Strikers game making Battle League feel obsolete? Well, that would be bad enough. But Mario Strikers charged for the Wii went ahead and embarrassed Battle League even more. All the grit and intensity returns from the first game. There's so many more cutscenes, and it's just cranked up to 11. I mean, look at some of these animations. My man Waluigi does the crotch top, Peach yells at her teammates when they're losing, Daisy's about to beat the shit out of them, Bowser straight up tries to murder them. It's amazing. There's also crowd chanting, "This is the best game ever." But this isn't your ordinary Strikers game. They cranked up the already amazing gameplay tenfold. It seems the same at first, just with a lot more characters and more variety and customization with the sidekicks. All of your moves return from the first game, and now, all of the characters have unique moves and the captains have unique items. The heavy characters, instead of having a dodge while holding the ball, perform a counterattack that gives them even more distinction from them and the lighter characters. Each of these character-specific moves and items provide so much replayability and customization with each game you play. I also like the Mega Strikes better than the Super Strikes from the first game. Here, you have to time how many balls you shoot at the goal, upwards of 6, and how fast they go. You launch in the air and get a really weird cutscene, and the goalie on the other team gets a chance to block the shots by using the pointer. Some people really seem to hate this, but I really like how much involvement there is from both teams, unlike the other 2 games where you just wait and see if it goes in or not. I also haven't mentioned the new soccer ball that is used here. After being passed and shot around enough, the ball charges up and makes the shots even more powerful. So you not only need to get it a good open shot, but you also need to charge up the ball enough to have an even more powerful shot. Those are the only main differences between the 2 games, as well as this one having more unique fields than the first one, as well as all the fields from the first game. That was nice. Just like with the first game, there aren't any alternate modes, but the gameplay is so good and endlessly replayable that it doesn't matter at all. This game is amazing.
Grocery!
I caught it. You're out.
But I ticked it. It hit the bat.
You're still out.
You're still fat.
Mario Super Sluggers for the Wii is something really special to me. It looks at Superstar Baseball and says, "You thought that was good?" and cranks it up to 11. The character roster here is even more insane than Superstar Baseball. All the characters from that one return, and they add even more, like Wiggler, Blooper, Funky Kong, Baby Donkey Kong, and the freaking Critters and King K. Rool from the Donkey Kong Country games. This is straight up the best character roster out of any single Mario game, although they missed Rosalina, but the roster is still spectacular. The chemistry system also returns from the first game, but it works a little bit differently. The throwing faster in the field is still the same, but they also add a super jump and a super throw that can be performed by two fielders with chemistry to rob home runs that wouldn't be possible to rob otherwise, and to gun out runners at the bases. It is also a little bit different while batting too. When a character with chemistry to the batter is on deck, they can throw a random item onto the field to help the batter get on base. I do prefer this to the boost in power in the first game. There are also way more fields in this game, totaling at 9, and each one has a nighttime variant as well, with the exception of Luigi's Mansion, which can only be played at night. These fields are all fun to play on, except Peach Garden, and are unique with how they play out. I love the gameplay here even more than Superstar Baseball, and I thought it wasn't possible to get more customizable than that game, but I guess I was proven wrong. All the extra modes from the first game return as well, and all of them have many improvements, although I still prefer Superstar Baseball's challenge mode because there's more playing baseball games, where in this game you just play missions to get players to join your team, and you only play Bowser Jr. and Bowser in full games. Once you get your 9th player, you can go to the end right there. This mode has some exploration, but it's very simple, and the shops and minigames return. This mode is still plenty of fun. Toy Field is also much better in this game because they use a pitching machine. There are items, and this new charge move thing that steal the ball in the field. It's way more chaotic in this game, and I'm all here for it. The minigames are still okay. The pinball one is really fun and addicting, and the home run derby comes back. That's it. Mario Super Sluggers has so much content, and is so much replayable fun, that is kind of absurd. This also feels really special because it's the last jam-packed Mario sports game. No other game after this one even comes close to the amount of endless fun that Super Sluggers provides, and that's why it's my favorite Mario sports game. I feel bad for Europe and Australia though. They never got this game for some reason. Good thing I live in America. Welp, there you have it. Even though some of the newer games have been less than stellar, I'm still excited for future games, like a new Mario Hoops or a new Mario Baseball game, since we haven't had those for a while. Or even a new sport like football would be really awesome to see. However, Nintendo is obviously teasing a new Mario Baseball game for the Switch, because remember how I said they used to own the Seattle Mariners? Well, at Seattle Mariners games, they show Nintendo advertisements with Mario Baseball models on them. Coincidence? I think not!